What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt Taville with Counterpunch Boxing News Round 2, and I have some new news concerning Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder. I got a glimpse of a clip that he had on The Sun. Okay, I will leave the link below. And he looks like he's practicing turning his target, okay, working the bag, fighting mid-range, which was surprising, okay, and he looks good turning. He's always been a quick mover in as far as feet, not necessarily hands, because of the awkwardness of his shots, but his footwork's looking a lot better. I can say that, okay? And I think that's going to be a part of their game plan also because of how Tyson Fury attacked the first time and being able to turn off the ropes, spin off the ropes, and make his own attack. He's going to have to learn that, okay? So that's good. That's a good thing to implement. However, that's not the reason for this video entirely, okay? I wanted to put that in, put that out there. But as I was watching a video from Showbiz the Adult, shouts out to him for making this clear. Again, I don't know how I missed this, but Rafael said something that broke it all down. And it stopped any type of way. And I'm going to explain to you. Okay, so just watch. All right. Now, he says that, listen, I can tell you from my conversations with Deontay that he is ready to fight, or he was ready to fight Tyson Fury in July. Okay? The only reason why he didn't fight Tyson Fury in July was because the fight was moved due to the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown that came after that. He does the same workouts that we've been doing. I don't know how someone can be injured and do all that. It's really hard stuff. I can tell you that for sure. Now, let me tell you something. Let me counterpunch. Shelly Finkel pretty much dropped the ball on this a couple days ago. You know, I had to reconfirm with a source, and, you know, they doubted Shelly Finkel. Now we have someone else, Rafael. Rafael asked the question that a lot of people already pretty much knew that's in the medical field. You can't rip a muscle off the bone and be able to fight like he fought that night. That wouldn't happen. That couldn't have happened. It doesn't matter, okay? And who confirmed that also? Showbiz the Adult. He showed you the scar from ripping it off the bone, okay? It's a scar that rips. That's what happens. You know, just like I remember when Paulo Malignaggi criticized Manny Pacquiao for, hey, where's the scar on his shoulder where he ripped his right shoulder, his right rotator cuff like he claimed. Okay, this is no different because if Deontay Wilder can't show us where they had surgery, that means he didn't have surgery at all. That means that the whole surgery thing was an act. That means it was made up. That means it was false. That means that he was ready because this guy said he was ready. His sparring partner said he was doing the same things that he did before. So I don't see how or why that would be the case. You know, and I did wonder that myself, but I'm like, nah, you know, he might have thought he needed surgery, you know, or thought he didn't need surgery until, you know, and then they set that fight. But it makes sense now. Why would you set a date for July and you know you had to have surgery after the fight? Based on what Tay Jones said recently in last week's interview, that it ripped off the bone. And what Showbiz the Adult said, hey, you can't push, you can't pull, you can't do anything with that arm if you ripped off the bone. It can't happen. It won't happen. Okay? That will not happen if that happened. I don't care what type of guy you are, you won't be able to do it. You physically couldn't do that with that type of muscle tear. Okay, so it was all a hoax, you know, and if no one else comes out with this, it's frustrating, and I'm over it. I'm really over it at this point because I'm hearing too many different things. I'm hearing, hey, he wasn't hurt at all. I'm hearing that, hey, you know, it was just a bang. I heard he got it torn off the bone. And then I'm hearing again that, hey, you know what? Nah, it wasn't bad. He couldn't do that with what he's doing now because he looks so amazing. You know, and it just, all the evidence. And now this is evidence of what people say. Now, Wilder didn't say much, but what did Wilder say? We got to go with what Wilder said. Wilder said, I injured it in the fight. Okay, so we have to go off that because that was the man's words, nobody else's words. But what did he say? I had to have surgery on that arm. Okay, so if Tay Jones said it was ripped off the bone, obviously it wasn't that bad now, was it? So the thing is, did they lie to Tay Jones? Right? Because that's what Tay Jones said. Right? Or did Deontay Wilder lie? Did Shelly Finkel lie? Did Junior Fa lie? Okay, because all these are different stories. So if it's different stories, we have to go on, okay, somebody's lying somewhere. And I'm to the point where if you hear, it's just like a group of people telling you different things to the point you're like, you know what? Never mind. Fuck it. I don't even want to hear, I don't want to hear any more stories. Because obviously they don't all add up. You can't connect the dots on all of them. Maybe Junior Fa and Shelly Finkel, but what Tay Jones said versus what this particular sparring partner, Rafael, said were two different things. He was like, hey, he was ready to fight in July. He couldn't have been if he had a tear like that. And look, I've looked it up myself. There's people that are specialists, and they tell you, yo, he could not do that. It takes 10 months for you to even be able to use that arm. He wouldn't have been able to do that. That fight should have been canceled if that was the case. If Deontay Wilder actually had a surgery, okay, if he actually had one, he couldn't have been able to fight February. Now, had the fight, if the injury happened in the fight, that means he couldn't have had the rematch July 27th. Okay, because the only person that said it fell off the bone was Tay Jones. But someone had to tell Tay Jones that. Unless, and people will say he made it up. So if he made it up, well, that's on him. Okay, so my thing is to put it out there, to let everyone know, to put it all on the table and let people draw their own conclusions. Okay, but you're hearing all these different stories. It doesn't look good to that team. Okay, it doesn't look good to Wilder because Wilder's already said conflicting information, that conflicts with Shelly Finkel, right? Junior Fa, said what he said, but then that pissed Shelly Finkel off. Okay, Tay Jones said one other thing. Then now Rafael, the sparring partner, said something totally different that conflicts everything. Showbiz the Adult has been an example of a guy that had that type of tear. So it's one of those things where you don't know what to think. It doesn't look good. It makes the team look bad as a whole because people can't seem to get the stories together. That's what it seems like. Counterpunch. It's one of those things where I sat back and I listened, and all I can do is listen and report. Okay? Now, if something seems funny, I got to call it out. That's what I'm doing. But again, my fault because I should have read this yesterday. And it didn't hit me until Showbiz the Adult made his video. And was like, yo, they're just doing that for publicity. Maybe so. That's the only thing that you can really take from it. Why are all these stories coming about? Because they want to sell the fight. That makes sense. That's the only thing. Than to think they're just being dishonest. You know what I mean? But I think the fight had to be, it had to be marketed. Why? Because of the type of beating Deontay Wilder took. It was like, okay, he took a beating that he couldn't bounce back from without something else having to be a factor. So something else had to be explained. So that's why all this stuff came up. And I'm talking about all the LDBC stuff, all the other stuff. All this stuff had to come together to sell this fight because nobody wants to see a third fight if these things didn't brew up. So if you can give the perception that either Tyson Fury cheated or Deontay Wilder was drugged or Deontay Wilder had an injury or something happened that stopped Deontay Wilder from fighting the way he's supposed to fight, that's why we have this fight. Okay? That would be the only way. You had to give that perception. Because if you didn't have that, we wouldn't have this fight. Because people were saying, why do we need to see a third fight? Bollocks. Bullshit. I don't care. I don't want to see a third fight. A lot of people were saying that, right? Because of what we already saw in the second fight. We saw Tyson Fury come out and do things he'd never done. Okay? He beat the guy, gave him his first loss, let that be that, but that couldn't be the case because a lot of people did not want that to be the reality. And they fought hard and long, and they're still fighting to this day to make sure that's not the reality. But that is the reality. The reality is Deontay Wilder was beaten. But here's the thing that people should start looking at. if Deontay Wilder is in good spirits, if he's healthy, if he's good mentally, physically, emotionally, if he's ready to fight, that's what people should focus on. Because these guys have fought tooth and nail to make this fight sellable. Okay, let that fight sell, let that fight be, and let us see who will be the victor in that fight. Okay, but for all this, the rumors and all that, I'm done. That's my counterpunch on that. You guys tell me what you think. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.